You can shape history. I can shape history. It's time that we wake up and we truly allow the God, the one true living God, to rise up inside of us. Allow Him to reign and rule in us, and watch Him move through us instead of striving at life, instead of trying to make things happen in our lives. And this message is for myself, and I've been walking this message out. You know, so many times we allow the storms in our lives to dislodge us and beat us, you know, and dislodge us completely away from our call, completely away from where we have purpose and passion. Even sometimes we feel like we've been dislodged from God, and that's not truth, you know, because God says that He won't let anyone snatch you out of His hand. You know, we go down these paths, and He's there. He's waiting for us to give in to our lives and to submit to Him and to truly walk away from the junk that has held us down. You know, and I just endured a storm in the natural, and it was crazy, you know, trying to walk out with peace and patience and knowing what I was supposed to do. You know, I was on an island where the storm was hitting, the tropical storm Colin, and you know, not sure, knowing what it was going to look like, and everyone else, you know, was walking around like a regular day in Florida, and so I just found some peace in God, and you know, I parked my car where I felt like He was showing me to park, and that was the biggest thing, was worrying about, you know, my car being flooded, and just, you know, walking us all out and watching, you know, this storm rage, and just praying against any damage, any property damage, praying against any lives being lost or anybody being hurt, you know, praying that God would redeem everything and anything that the enemy come to steal, kill, and destroy. And you know, I just feel like God was showing me so much, and He's been showing me that I've been striving in my own life, you know. I've been trying to control, like, and to help, you know, instead of always trusting God, it's like trusting in our own instincts and trusting in our own will, and you know, and when it comes to finances, it's really, really hard, you know, and that's one of the last things we want to give up control over, because you know, trusting when you don't see it is really, really hard, and you know, it takes an endurance, it takes a patience, it takes a love for God and a trust that is beyond measure, you know. And sometimes He doesn't show up until the last moment, you know, and sometimes it's after when we think the 11th hour is over, but it's in His timing, and He's, you know, in Daniel it said that the angel was delayed 21 days, you know, because of the enemy, you know. So many times there's so many factors in what transpires in our life, and sometimes we want to blame God all the time, and you know, maybe we need to shift where the blame goes. Maybe sometimes it's our own problem, you know, that we created because it's our own choices, you know. But for whatever reason, you know, I feel like God is like on the move in a major way, and He's saying, will you allow Him to truly reign and rule in your life? Will I allow God to truly rise up inside of us? Allow the one true living God, Jesus Christ, rise up inside of you. Allow Him to reign and rule in your life. And, you know, not just little bits and pieces, and not in this certain area of your life, and not in this certain area of your life, in 100% of your life. You know, allowing Him to be the first thing that we go to, the first person we go to, you know, and not relying on our own instincts or relying on the past. And that's huge, because we want, oh, this is how it happened before, this is how it's going to happen now. Well, that's not truth, because God is about making the impossible be possible. And so just because it happened that way in the past doesn't mean it has to happen that way again. And we need to stop living out of our past, and we need to start living and looking towards the future, and keeping our eyes on the prize, which is Jesus, and trusting God. You know, He wants to interact with us. He wants us to be a part of this process. And each one is different. Each one has a different purpose in the process. And God is trying to show us individually what that looks like. And I am so excited to see where God's taking me. And so in all this, you know, the raging storm had passed. And so I'm out on the beach yesterday morning, and I'm walking on the beach, and it's just amazing, you know, watching how the waters had shifted the sand, and you know, and even knowing, like, you know, we're like the sand, you know, and how we allow the enemy to shift our lives, and I come upon these two buoys that should be out in the ocean, you know, anchored down into the ocean deep, and they are actually laying on the beach, and both of them said, warning, submerged pipelines. Well, they weren't warning anything anymore. They were actually on the beach, and I'm praying that God will allow the people to know that they have missing buoys that should be protecting an area, so that boats and people don't get caught up or messed up with the pipelines, and, you know, and nothing gets disturbed. And so in all that, I felt like God started to talk to me about these buoys, and I feel like it's like our lives. You know, the buoy was actually dislodged from where it was called to be. And how many times, you know, I felt like God was saying, how many times do we allow the storms in our lives to dislodge us from where we're called to be? And you know, the tension on these buoys from where they were stationed at was so strong that it tore the cables, and to tear a cable, it had to have been a huge strength, you know. And the storms were raging, and the waves are huge, and the raging waters, you know. And a buoy is made to be on top of the water, and so no matter how high the wave gets, it's going to stay on top of the water. It can't stand to be submerged. You know, and I feel like it represents how we sometimes, we are not ready to be submerged into what God has for us, and we're hanging on tight. Even though the waters are getting deeper, we are hanging on tight to God and the world. And in that, I feel like it represents that tension on those cables, and we're about ready to snap, and, you know, and we're going to get dislodged from where we're called. We're going to get dislodged from what we're supposed to be doing in life, and I feel like the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, you know. And in the midst of it, if we allow God to reign and rule in our life, He will redeem everything that the enemy has tried to steal, kill, and destroy. It's scriptural. He tells you, you know. But how many times do we truly have the faith to believe that for God? How many times do we truly want to allow God into our lives? Because we walk in fear. We walk in the fear of the unknown. We walk in fear of what people think. We walk in fear of even how it looks like in our life. Like, we're going to look crazy. We're going to look stupid. Like, that can't be possible. Like, truly, you know, we got to just be on the guard, but not allow that to keep us from walking where God is calling us. And so I felt like He was so talking to even me in my life, you know, not allowing the storms of my life to dislodge me from where I'm called, not to take my focus off of the Ark of the Covenant, like as we're crossing the Jordan, you know, staying purposed, staying focused, keeping our eyes on Jesus, you know. And as we keep our eyes on Jesus, and we're keeping the enemy under our feet, not looking to the left or the right, we're crossing the Jordan. We're walking into our promised land. We're walking into the area that God has promised us. Yes, God promised you a land, an inheritance, and it's time that we walk into it. And I believe that we are walking into a generation that is truly about ready to step into something that no other generation has ever encountered, into a position of God that we've never encountered before as a whole. And I'm so excited for this, and I feel like God is preparing His remnant. He's preparing us to truly be the leaders. And are you willing to step into where you're called? And are you willing to let go of what you've hung on to in the world, to truly let God be the one who is in charge of your life? Do you trust God with your life? Do you truly lay down your life and trust Him 100%, no matter what it looks like? You know, instead of holding on to what the world says, or holding on to, you know, our finances with a tight grip, you know, holding on to our family with a tight grip, and it's like, God, I gotta protect them, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. No, we don't gotta do anything. You know what? Do you truly trust God with your life? You know, Abraham truly trusted God when God was about, you know, when He told him to take Isaac, you know, and allow him to be the sacrifice. You know, he truly was going against law at that time. You know, but he didn't care. He was doing what God was asking him to do. He had already screwed up once. He wasn't going to screw up again. And so he was taking Isaac to the mountain, and he was trusting that, you know what, if he had to go through with it, God would give him the ability and maybe resurrect him. I don't know what he was thinking, but he knew that he had to walk out obedience and trust God no matter what it looked like. And so God gave him a ram, you know, in the thick. And that was the sacrifice that they used that day. You know, are you willing to even be the Isaac and be willing to be the sacrifice? You know, and I'm not saying people are killing people, because that is not a sacrifice. I'm just saying, are you willing to lay your life down for God, allow Him to use you in a measure that is beyond what we can ever imagine, to go deeper into His heart, to understand such a depth of His heart? And I feel like the buoy represents someone who is not willing to go deep into the heart of the Father. It is not willing to be submerged. And is hanging on with a tight grip to God. You know God, and you know He has a purpose for your life, but you're not quite ready to trust Him completely. You know, God says, are you willing to wake up and let go? Let go of what you want in life and trust that God has something greater. And when we're in alignment with Him in such a way, those heart's desires become His heart's desires. His heart's desires become ours. And when we're in alignment with Him, those things happen. They come to life. And God is about ready to restore the things that the enemy has come to steal, kill, and destroy. And I'm excited for your life. I'm excited for what God is about ready to do. He's excited to see God rock and roll us. And He's about ready to take the things that have been dislodged and completely submerge them into Him. To take our dreams and completely submerge them into Him. The things that were lost are not going to be lost anymore. And if you're willing to truly grab a hold of Him and not let go, and to truly embrace Him with both of your hands, and trust Him with your life, with your family, with your job, with your dreams, with the visions He's given you, and watch Him just so surpass anything that you ever could do in the natural. Watch the impossible become the possible. Because God is about ready to wake us up, to take us into a new season. Are you ready to go? Because I'm ready. And I'm praying that my character will be able to sustain the dreams that God is creating in me. And I pray that your character is being built also to sustain your dreams, so that the dreams don't crush either of them.